All right, how we doing? It is great to be back here on the show. As most of you know who tune in, this is an NFL show, if you couldn't tell by the backdrop on my page. But more than just an NFL show, something I've appreciated growing up and I'm super interested in is receiver play at the professional level. Now, I grew up playing receiver in football, and I'm by no means an NFL player or even close to that caliber of an athlete. But I feel like I do know just a little bit more than the average person, and something I've been planning, and I finally got around to it on an Excel spreadsheet, matter of fact, is ranking my favorite and the best receiver rooms in the league, in my opinion, based on my homemade ranking scale. So that's what I'm going to take you through today, my top 7 receiver rooms in the league based on talent, fit, depth, and versatility and dependability. After that, I ranked all of those 4 categories based on a percentage scale, favoring talent, then fit, then depth, and then finally versatility and dependability. All of that is down below in the caption. Now, you're probably wondering, JV, why 7? Why not do 10? Why not do 15 or just top 5? Well, I feel like the 8 to 15 range gets a little bit dull and repetitive, and why not top 5? Well, there are a few early on here, my number 7 and number 6 slot, that I felt needed to be discussed because I really love what they have going, but they just didn't crack my top 5. So that's how I settled on 7. Without further ado, let's hop right into my list. Thank you for being with me. It's JV Show. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. It means the world. I could not ask for a better support group here on YouTube. We're about to hit 5K, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to keep chugging. We're going to keep pumping out the content just like this. I hope y'all enjoy. Let's hop into the episode. At number 7, and if you want to skip to whatever team you're looking for, if they're in my top 7, the timestamps are also below in the caption. At number 7, I had the Denver Broncos. Now, this is a team that I absolutely love. I think from top to bottom, they've built a very complete roster. You think back to a few years ago with Russell Wilson and how chaotic that was. They've really settled down with Sean Payton. They found their quarterback in Bo Nix, who they absolutely love. And now I feel like they've assembled such a great receiving core for Bo Nix. Now, obviously, this is not including a tight end in this list. It's solely based on receivers. But what I do like is the move for Jalen Waddle, man. I can't talk about it enough, how much this was needed, desperately needed for a Broncos offense that needed a number 2 option, that was begging, starving for a guy to turn to besides Courtland Sutton. I mean, you think of your stereotypical slot receiver, that's what you got out of Jalen Waddle, a guy that will operate in the short to intermediate part of the field, and when the ball is in his hands, can take it to the house. I mean, he's got top-end speed that the majority of defensive backs, even at the NFL level, just cannot match. Now, you look at his season last year in Miami, 910 yards, 6 TDs. It's not the best in the world, but in my opinion, he just needed a change of scenery. He was a part of a McDaniel offense in Miami that just got figured out. It was way too fraudulent, and that's not to say McDaniel isn't a good play caller, but it just wasn't the right fit with him and Tyreek and HN, and it just didn't end up working later on in that Miami stint. But now he lands in Denver, and you're beside a guy in Courtland Sutton who's on an absolutely phenomenal deal for this team, who wins outside for you. He's your big body, big catch radius receiver that will make play after play down the field, stretch the field. So you got that 1-2 punch with him and Jalen Waddle now for Bo Nix. But then on top of that, you look at their depth, and I can't rave about this enough. I mean, you got Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, 2 young receivers that Sean Payton can develop and continue to work with to become potentially number 2 guys in this league. And then a guy in Marvin Mims who, his stats don't jump off the charts, 322 yards, a touchdown last season. But you look at the deeper stats, you peel back the layers, he's been a top 5 separator in football since 2024. That's right. Back-to-back years, Marvin Mims has been a top 5 separator in the league per the NFL Next Gen stats. The talent is great. I mean, it's not a 3 which is on the scale here. I ranked it 0 to 3. I wouldn't say it's a 3 out of 3 for talent, but definitely a 2 out of 3. I love a Cortland Sutton. I love a Jalen Waddle, but I think it's the depth and the fit of the offense and the flow that you fall in love with, right? And that's where I think the Broncos will continue to grow as an offense, as a group here. And I think depth-wise, they're arguably the most complete team in the league. Whereas you look at their wide receiver 5 and you're confident having them on the field. Some teams don't even have a number 2 option, a number 1 option that they're confident targeting. The Broncos got 5 guys that I think you can roll out and actually have a pretty solid day, but they're top 2 now with Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle. It really is awesome, and I'm excited to see what they can do with Bo Nix in the future. I mean, they got a Super Bowl roster right now, you got to imagine. With the Jalen Waddle addition, you just love it out of the slot. Number 6, another team that I wanted to include just because I think they're very underrated. I don't think this receiver room gets enough love. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, and in my opinion, the gold standard for balance. You rarely get this from NFL receiver rooms. They have a Jakobi Meyers who had above 800 yards last year, 3 TDs. I am confident a full season in Jacksonville with that chemistry built up with his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, he can go for 1,000 yards, 5 TDs. You have a Brian Thomas Jr., who had 700 yards last year, 2 TDs, but 1 season ago, his rookie year, 1,200 yards this guy had, 10 TDs. He was an absolute stud, and that's not to mention the other guys you got under him, a Parker Washington, who is phenomenal out of the slot, one of the most underrated slot receivers in the league. Slot receivers do not get enough love. People think their job is easy and they're schemed open, yada, yada, yada. Parker Washington was a great security blanket for Trevor Lawrence last year, got him comfortable in big-time games, and was an awesome red zone target. He had 5 TDs, I believe even one in the playoff game against the Bills. And then you look at a guy like Travis Hunter. I mean, we're not even talking about their former top 5 pick who has the sky as his ceiling. All across the board, they have 4 receivers. You roll out and you're like, damn, we actually have to have some solid DB play to match up against these guys. I mean, what a luxury for Liam Cohen to have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 solid receivers that you're willing to say, hey, go run us whatever route you want, any route in the books, and we're going to target you. That's what I think you have in Jacksonville. Now, again, they don't necessarily have that premier talent. They don't have that top 10 receiver in the league. But what they do have is, probably 4 top 40, top 50 receivers in the league. And that alone, in my opinion, is extremely impressive. Now, you look at the next few years, one of them may be gone. You just give Jakobi Meyers the cash. Brian Thomas Jr., who knows what happens with him. He's caught a lot of backlash. And yeah, last season maybe wasn't his best, but we just saw him go for damn near 1,300 yards, score 10 TDs. He's a good receiver. The talent is there. The route running, if you want to see a breakdown from his rookie year, I posted it last season. Phenomenal. I mean, the way he can move as a big body receiver with that kind of length, with that kind of stride length, is pretty remarkable. And again, I've raved about Parker Washington. I've talked about him here on the show. And Travis Hunter, when he was given the opportunity, I believe it was against the Rams. They only scored 7 points in the game. I think it was actually in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. But they targeted him like 10 times, and the guy popped off. It's like, hey, if you use these receivers and squeeze all the juice out, you can legit have multiple 1,000-yard receivers with the way Trevor Lawrence closed out last season. So, again, not a team, in my opinion, that cracked my top 5 just because I personally weigh the talent of a great wide receiver duo a little bit higher than I would of a balanced receiver room, just because I think you get more out of 2 elite receivers than 4 good receivers. But I do truly believe with all of my heart that one of these guys can actually break out and be a star in this league. And I'm kind of leaning the Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter route. I do really believe in BTJ, and whether it's in Jacksonville or somewhere else, he will get his opportunity. But they have a solid group. Like I said, the gold standard, in my opinion, for balance. And they've given Trevor Lawrence, everything and more at this point to work with. And obviously last year, the offensive success was clear that they had provided him enough in the receiver room to get to that point. So I had the Jags at 6. Kicking off my top 5, Philadelphia Eagles at number 5. Now, this is a group that I heavily debated. Like, I just wasn't really sure where to put them. I think their duo with AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith is amazing. That's no doubt. And obviously, they pick up Hollywood Brown, who had almost 600 yards last year, 5 TDs with the Chiefs. So not bad. I don't think their depth is all that amazing. And they don't really use their number 3 receiver or anybody below. They've used Dallas Goedert, obviously, in the past. And like I said, receivers are the only people I'm looking at here. Tight ends not included in this list. Their wide receiver 3 doesn't really matter to me, but when you look at the room as a whole, you have AJ Brown, who at his best is a top 10, top 8, top 5, arguably receiver in this league. Last season, he had only 1,000 yards, 7 TDs, obviously a down year from him. Now, whether you want to blame that on Patullo or AJ Brown, who, I think you can blame both of them, depending on the situation and what you're looking at. But you have an AJ Brown who could be a top 10 receiver in the league at his best. You have a DeVonta Smith who Philly fans rave about, and I'm not as high on him as I am other number 2 receivers in the league, but I will say that he is a very, very solid option. He stretches the field. He opens things up down the field. Jalen Hurts is extremely comfortable launching the ball 50 yards and getting DeVonta Smith in stride, which he got in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and we've seen it routinely in this offense. I just don't think DeVonta Smith can carry the weight of a true number 1 receiver, whereas there are maybe like 3 or 4 duos coming up in this list that I like a lot more than the Eagles. So obviously me grading these receiver rooms primarily based on talent, the Eagles slot in here. The depth isn't anything I love, but again, having Hollywood Brown in there definitely does make it slightly more appealing as a full, complete room, but I do like the duo here of AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith. They're just a can't miss, right? Like, you're going to go with them. Any team would be blessed to have 2 great receivers like that, and Jalen Hurts, they've carried his career, to say the least. If he didn't have those 2 guys, we just don't know the kind of quarterback he is. I don't necessarily think he's this phenomenal, talented quarterback that can do it by himself. He needs a little juice, and having those guys definitely helps. So you got an A.J. Brown who's got a phenomenal fade route, a great slant route, maybe a little bit limited with this route tree, but nonetheless a great receiver. And DeVonta Smith, who, again, I would like to see them find a true slot guy that, like a Wandale last season, a sleeper guy, or like a Parker Washington who can solely operate that short intermediate part of the field and help out Jalen Hurts a little bit more. That's where I think they lack on the fit here. But as a duo, again, the talent is just undeniable, and you got to put them in your top 5 when you're ranking receiver rooms. At number 4, another duo that I absolutely love. You got to love them. I believe they're the highest paid duo in the league. They got to be the Cincinnati Bengals. You got Jamar Chase, who is pulling the Bengals sled into the top 4 here. He's arguably in a league of his own, right? 1,400 yards last year, 8 TDs. Phenomenal 2024 campaign. He's been great since entering the league. What kind of receiver takes a year off, doesn't play football, and is still like a guaranteed top 5 pick? Like, very few, right? He's one of those generational talents at the receiver position. I think you look at receiver rooms in the NFL and, I just love the Jags. I love the Broncos, but you tell me, JV, you get Jamar Chase or the Broncos receiver room, I'm taking Jamar Chase. It just is what it is. He's that dominant. Now, Tee Higgins, who had 846 yards last year, 11 TDs, in my opinion, I think is slightly overrated considering what they're paying him. He just doesn't separate well at all. Like at all. He's very, very low on the charts for the NFL Next Gen stats. But with that being said, he's a big body receiver, big catch radius, and to his credit, he makes play after play routinely for this offense when they need it. He was an 11 touchdown receiver this past season, and when you got a guy like Jamar Chase who can really do it all, run a slant, run a dig, run a fade ball, take the top off and also work in the intermediate part of the field and create a ton of yak, all you really need is a guy in the red zone that you can throw it up to who's like 6'4", 6'5", and that's what they got out of Tee Higgins. And to build on that, Andre Yosivas, their number 3 option, who had 435 yards, 2 TD last year, I think is one of the better number threes in the league. Now, again, you're a number 3 option. It's hard to make a name for yourself, but I truly believe as a pure route runner, he's pretty smooth. I've seen a lot of his work on social media. I follow his trainer pretty closely, the Sideline Hustle, and what he's done these past few years developing and growing his game. I think when given the opportunity, he could be a 700-yard receiver in this league. Give me 3 or 4 TDs. I don't think he'll ever be a true number 1. I think that's a huge stretch as far as what we've seen, but I also don't think he gets enough credit. So you look at those 3 guys, and obviously Ja'Marr Chase, given the crown here, given the king, they slide into this list just because of the pure talent and dominance that you see from Chase and Higgins. And at their best, I mean, imagine Burrow had an offensive line. They're phenomenal. But then you get into the whole situation with the contracts, and that's why I think Tee Higgins maybe just not worth that much money. But again, a conversation for another time. I digress. 2 great receivers with a solid number 3 option. It's hard for me to keep Ja'Marr Chase any lower than this, and then you add on Tee Higgins. I mean, it's pretty much a slam dunk. They're top 5. Number 3, I went the Los Angeles Rams, another duo that I love. As far as depth goes here, horseshit. Like, I do not know who their number 3 option is, but again, I don't think that really matters. Puka Nacua, just an incredible jack-of-all-trades, utility knife receiver. 1,700 yards last year, 10 TDs. I think he takes the receiving crown last season if he does play all of his games. He did have a few injuries he was dealing with, I think, like midway through the year. He leads the NFL, fun fact, historically in yards per game with 95.3, which is crazy to think about. But he's had just a stellar career. And then you look at a Davante Adams, a guy they added last year in free agency, 789 yards this past season, and 14 TDs. He led the NFL with touchdowns. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's everything and more that Matthew Stafford could want. They are, as a 1-2 punch, unstoppable, you could argue. Now, the reason they wouldn't be number 2 or number 1 in this case scenario is because, personally, when I watch Davante Adams play, and believe me, he is a top 5 red zone target in the league. Obviously, the goal line fade is unstoppable with him. His release package, his ability to separate off the line of scrimmage, damn near second to none still. But he is on the wrong side of 30, I believe. He's getting older, and you can just kind of see the wheels slowly starting to fall off. And, every dog has its day. It happens, like you're going to hang him up eventually. Davante Adams is still a great player for this offense, and Puka, obviously, the guy you lean on. I feel like I would be comfortable having a guy like Puka in my backfield with the way he's so physically dominating and he plays in the run game, blocking, his yak ability, etc. But my thing with Davante is he is getting older, right? And I would go with a younger receiver duo, despite the Rams having Puka, who, is up for a big payday considering what JSN just got, the bag in Seattle. But I'm curious how they deal with it because he has been having weird character issues off the field that I won't comment on, but it is just man, you're about to get paid the bag. Just chill out. Whatever you believe, just chill out. You're going to get the bag. I'm curious to see how the Rams deal with that situation and if they're going to pour all that money into a guy that's kind of been a little bit on and off this past year, I would say, in the media. But nonetheless, great receiver room that they have. I guess great receiver duo, I would say. As far as depth goes, I think I gave them a 0 on my depth scale, honestly. I don't see any other options besides those 2. At number 2, I went the Detroit Lions. Now, this is a duo that not only do I love the duo talent-wise, but scheme-wise, fit-wise, it makes perfect sense, okay? Amon-Ra St. Brown, the gold standard for slot receivers, a consistent 1,200-yard, 10 TD receiver. Last season, 1,400 yards, 11 TDs. People always say, oh, well, he's schemed open. He's in the slot. I think that's lazy. I think you're discrediting the body of work that Amon-Ra St. Brown has put out these past 4 to 5 seasons. Even without a Ben Johnson this past year, he was phenomenal. And then you pair that with a Jameson Williams, a game breaker, a guy that can take the top off, that can stretch the field vertically, and then on those crossers, which they love to run, is unstoppable. I mean, the top-end speed, similar to Jalen Waddle, it just cannot be matched by DBs. And if, J-Mo gets a ball over the middle or, on the numbers, he takes it to the house in more times than not. You look at, I was kind of looking at the NFL Next Gen charts, actually. It's so funny to see the routes that he runs just cross the field. And maybe it's like, hey, from a route running perspective, is he all that great? Whatever. He's going to be productive at the NFL level because of his top end speed and even his ability to shut down in routes. I mean, you're already scared, right? You're giving him the cushion as a DB with that, whatever he's got, 4.3, 4.35 speed, whatever it is. I don't know what 40 he ran. But that creates so much more room when you're running a hitch route, let's say, or a hatchet, or a curl, right? And it just opens up the field of play for you as a receiver. So those two impress me a lot. J-Mo this past season, 1,100 yards, 7 TDs, obviously both being paid. And then their number 3 option, again, a guy that does not get enough credit, a sleeper, white boy. Come on, the white boy receivers are picking back up. Let's freaking go. Isaac Tesla, 239 yards this past season. Nothing crazy, but 6 TDs. 6 TDs in a crowded receiver room with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. He found a way to make flashy plays in the red zone. And really, what more can you ask for? It's not like you need this reliable receiver, a 10-target per game receiver when you got St. Brown and J-Mo. It's not like you need anything really. I mean, St. Brown and J-Mo, they check all boxes alone. So what can you get out of a number 3 guy? How about a contested catch beast? Someone that makes one-handed catches look like it's waking up and you're brushing your freaking teeth. I mean, come on, give me some more of that. Isaac Tesla, if you want to go back and watch the film, and even in the preseason, he kind of piqued my interest, making a few huge plays. I think he had a really big game. And then early on in the year, scores a TD, amazing, does it again. It's great. So I don't think the depth is that of the Broncos or the Jags, but having a guy like Tesla as your third option, plus your duo, which you've paid, it's a slam dunk. I love the fit. I love the talent there. I think the versatility is also there. They're a very dependable bunch. And on top of that, the depth is solid when you factor in their number 3 and Isaac Tesla, who, I think deserves a few more targets next season if I'm the Lions OC. But again, it's like you got your duo. You're rocking with them. That leaves the number 1 receiver room in the league to be the Dallas Cowboys. And again, this is me valuing talent, top-end elite talent, a lot more than depth. And I sat there and I debated and I said, well, JV, the Jaguars, the Broncos, they have great depth. When you're ranking receiver rooms, you kind of feel inclined to say, well, they have the better receiver room. Sure, but let me ask you this question. Right now, for this season, who would you pick to have as receivers for your team? The Jags with a Parker Washington, a Jacoby Myers, a BTJ, Travis Hunter, or you can get 2 top 10 receivers in the league in George Pickens, who had 1,400 yards and 9 TDs, outright won the number 1 role in this offense, and CeeDee Lamb, who was an 1,000-yard receiver and 3 TDs with 14 games played, probably would have had 1,200 to 1,300 yards and a few more TDs, and we've seen what he's been able to do. I mean, it's no question. It's a home run. This duo fuels one of, if not the most explosive offense in the league, and it's exciting to watch. And the reality check here is that George Pickens, when CeeDee Lamb was out last year, was averaging like 120 yards per game. Both of them are wide receiver ones, and not low-end wide receiver ones, not medium-end wide receiver ones, top-end, elite number 1 options. George Pickens was robbed in Pittsburgh for 3 to 4 years of his talent and his abilities. They said, you know what, George Pickens, screw you. Screw you. We're not even going to use you to your fullest potential. We're not going to squeeze even half the toothpaste out of the bottle. No, screw you. He goes to Dallas, and what does he do? He has an all-pro season, and he makes CeeDee Lamb genuinely look like a number 2 option. You know how hard that is to do? Insane. Now, they have 0 depth. Don't get me wrong. Who's their number 3 guy? Jonathan Mingo? I don't even know. But you don't need, okay? Yeah, if one of them gets injured, who do you turn to? Well, it's only the other guy you got. But when both of them are healthy, it's the most dangerous, it's the scariest passing attack in the league. And the Cowboys, that offense, they've brought out the best in George Pickens, and with CeeDee Lamb healthy, they're just unstoppable. They just are. CeeDee, who can play in the slot, who is versatile as a receiver, and then George Pickens is your true X, your outside guy, who also has that yak ability to take a slant to the house, that versatility. I mean, it's the full package and more. So that's why I have the Cowboys at the top again, prioritizing that talent aspect of receiver rooms and then building off that with the fit and the depth, etc. But that is my top 7 receiver rooms in the league. To a recap, 7 the Broncos, 6 the Jags, 5 the Eagles, 4 the Bengals, 3 the Rams, 2 the Lions, 1 the Dallas Cowboys. That is a wrap. Thank you for rocking with me. Just under 30 minutes here, which is perfect timing. If you love these kind of episodes, please go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of my list, what I could change, or if I completely bombed this thing. Sorry if I did. Let me know down in the comments. Other than that, guys, it's been a blast. I'll catch y'all soon. Peace out. Stay safe, y'all.